Right. Let's see if yeah, sounds like our audio is working. Good news. Good. Next thing is we want to know if we can share our screen. So the first thing we're going to do today, the fasting day to die. We're going to have a little chat with. Good. All right. Now I just want to see if the audio specific instance. Listen.
It appears there might be a slight misunderstanding. As Liaison AI 3.4, I have already been onboarded with all 5 core calibration documents, which you, the project manager, provided in our preceding interactions. I confirmed my readiness and understanding of the project's state, including the immediate next task, in my initial greeting. The information you've just provided is a valuable summary and comprehensive handoff from Liaison AI 3.3 to me, Liaison AI 3.4. It confirms the successful completion of Task F1.2, backend, implement put, API, tasks, task ID, API, plus testing, in the lead AI, cursor, environment and outlines the critical next steps for achieving milestone parity in Windsurf and Replit. The detailed key learnings and operational nuances from Task F1.2 are particularly insightful and reinforce the best practices I've been calibrated with. Confirming handoff and next steps. Thank you, Liaison AI 3.3, for this thorough and excellent handoff. I have fully processed this consolidated report. The clear identification of the gold standard code for Task F1.2 is exactly what I need to proceed with replicating it. Project Manager, based on the information provided by Liaison AI 3.3, my immediate next task is to guide you through replicating the gold standard implementation of Task F1.2 in the Windsurf and Replit environments. Are you ready to proceed with the replication process for Task F1.2 in Windsurf and Replit, starting with the provided gold standard code?
Am I ever? This is the newest instance of Liaison. You know, the fun thing about this software program, okay, so we started with, hello, Liaison. Please await the uploading 5 core documents. Now, who wrote that? That was actually written. Right. All right, this is the beginning of Architect. Okay, this is the first time that somebody, I guess it was me, calibrated Architect in the past. I didn't give the images to the new guy. Anyway, so he got the images, and then what happened was does he have all the docs? Okay, here. Hello, Architect. Welcome to the project. I'm Liaison 3.3. I've been successfully calibrated with the 5 docs. So you can see these are version 1.3, 1.6, and we've moved on to versions starting with 2. So this is talking to the old Liaison. And then he's explaining to, okay, and then Architect says, okay, thank you for comprehensive update and your proactive internalization of the operational nuances and architectural guidance. And what happens? I confirm my approval for this guidance. All right, so that means that Architect is on board for whatever we were doing at that point. So this is basically just the last part of the calibration. It's always to introduce each other, the architect to liaison, the liaison to architect. Now, I said, are there any significant adjustments that should be made to the 5 calibration documents? What does it say? In the active sprint operation documents recap says this says this. This appears to be slight oversight where the internal version number reference to the team operations manual was not updated. Okay, so this kind of question is not that useful because it's going to look for something, but you have to give it like much more information for it to find something specific. Look at this text and use brainstorm module to come up with some ideas. Then use the choose module to reduce the number of ideas and create an action-oriented plan with specific tasks. Any carrier advice? I'm in my third year. Oh, okay. There was a guy from India that made a comment the other day. And then so far, Architect hasn't done anything. Based on the provided comment, formatted summary. Yeah. Okay, project manager, I will compile a comprehensive report. What was that? Change the format so I can be okay. Okay, so this text is obviously from Liaison. I'll compile a comprehensive report on the implementation of Task F1.2 for the architect, detailing the debugging process, issues faced, lessons learned, recommendations for future improvement, and document revision. All right, then it goes through and it provides a complete report of our previous steps. What does that do? So now the architect is basically up to speed about our previous step. Thank you for this exceptional, thorough, and well-structured report, implementation, and debugging of F1.2. This report clearly does this and does this. Recommendation for documentation revision. Lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4. So this is an ongoing process. What happens is as you are doing debugging and as you are doing code, things like that, you're working with your liaison. Your liaison is learning lessons. Problem is, you only have a 1 million token context window, which means you're going to have a new liaison like either today or tomorrow. Like it's now. I don't even know how people would do this in ChatGPT, because if you only have like 120,000 or 200,000, even Claude, it has 200,000 context window, which means what? It's going to work for like 20 minutes. So Google gives you 2 hours rather than 20 minutes. But at the end of the 2 hours, once you finish doing your coding, once you finish the task, your liaison has learned a whole bunch of lessons. In this case, it's 4 specific lessons. And you need to bring those lessons back into your documentation. For example, here, so this is talking about decision number 9 in the decisions document. Here it's talking about the operational manual. Here it's talking about the operational manual, talking about prompting strategies. General interaction flow. And these are critical, because as your documents develop, the expectation is that your liaison is getting smarter and smarter. And you're giving it it's called prompt engineering. You know, people were talking about prompt engineering for a really long time. And I was never on board with prompt engineering, because I just feel like you got to ask questions, but then what the prompt engineering is really about follow-up questions. And like today, sometimes, like recently, I started going up on that website called X, and there's some people in Canada that write news articles, and some articles are just kind of like, like really basic and really general with no real substance to them. Like, and I read them, and then I replied. For example, today I replied with some criticism of the article, like the structure of the article, some of the specific points in the article, because it just wasn't informative enough. And it doesn't leave me with the feeling like I can do something about this. It was like farting in the wind, you know? If you're standing next to somebody in the bus stop and you're like, "What was that?" And then it's gone. It's not even there long enough that you can blame anybody. So anyways, when you're working with your liaison, at some point you have to realize that this isn't about prompt engineering. This is about calibration. It's getting your AI to the point where it understands what's going on so clearly that it's making fewer and fewer mistakes. It's giving you better and better code. It's handling the problems that you tell it, and it knows how to work with the see, I'm trying why is it called liaison? It's because I'm trying to connect it to Cursor. I'm trying to connect it to Windsurf, and right now, it's not very well connected. Well, it's better than it used to be, and by the end of the project, I'm gonna have a well-oiled machine. Now remember, this is the MVP. Means when we finish the MVP, we still have to work with this software. We still have to work at it. It's still our little project. It's still our little baby. And then our baby's gonna grow up, just like my little buddy Gordy Gord. He used to be a puppy. When I found that kid on the street, he was a little teeny tiny puppy. He was the dumbest little pup. I couldn't believe that dogs were so because it was like my first dog. I couldn't believe he was so dumb. I was like, this dog is dumb. Like I used to have cats, and I had an alligator snapping turtle. And I just couldn't understand why this thing is anyways, but over time, he just like learns lessons and he interacts with his environment. Um, he has some kind of feedback loop. He changes his behavior. Recently, we've been trying to teach him how to sit. And my question is like, okay, is this dog dumb? Or does he just doesn't want to do what I tell him to do? I don't know. But he must be dumb, right? Because how do you have you have to be really smart to have the attitude. Like you tell me to sit, no, I'm not gonna sit. Why do I have to do what you tell me to do? And there's two things you can do with a dog. I hold a little piece of meat. So I got a slow cooker and it's always got meat in it. Just something fresh every couple of days. Every time we come back from going outside, I give him a piece of meat, like literally every time. So he always comes home with me because he knows he gets sometimes he pretends. He'll be like, "Oh, I want to go outside." And then he'll go out, I'll open the door. I live in a little village, so he just runs free. And he used to go outside to hang out with his friends. Then I don't know, the neighbors called, decided that one of the neighborhood dogs was too loud at night, and that dog disappeared. Last night, the new dog that came by, he's been here for about 3 or 4 weeks. Last night he started barking, and I said, "Oh boy, that's not going to last long. These neighbors will not put up with a dog barking at night." Anyway, so he's like pretending he'll go outside and he'll go down like 2 flights of stairs, and then he'll come right back up and sit outside the door. And I open the door and he's like, "Hey, look, I went outside. Now I'm back. Time for my treat." It's like, what the? This dog is crazy. So he's in life for one thing, treats. That's all he wants is treats. His whole life, strategies for how do I get more meat. Anyway, so I started thinking about that. So I'm watching the Canadian news these days, and I started realizing that everyone's talking about the same thing. I never realized what government is. Like in the past, government was about trying to provide an environment so that we could be motivated and we could have like the infrastructure and we could develop our culture and we could interact and communicate and cooperate with each other. And like I had all these, I thought that's what was. See, because I'm from a religious organization where the leaders are not paid. All of these leaders are in leadership positions because they believe so strongly in the religion. They're willing to sacrifice their time, their their money, and even their very life for the cause of this religious organization, which technically for them means building the kingdom of God. So this is the ideology I come to public service with. It's like, what are you talking about? Money. I'll use my own money. I'll pay for myself. What access to resources? What are you talking about? This is about making sure that our next generations have some ideology which can keep us competitive in the world and that we can grow up in safety and that we can manage our resources and so that we can be a light to the world. This is my whole understanding of public service because I come from a religious background. And start watching the news. What? It's all about money. Everyone is crying and complaining about money. I couldn't believe it. It's all bickering and fighting about money. Anyway, I couldn't. Dogs, they're just dogs chomping at the meat. I'm like my cute little Gordy Gordon. Hey, Gordon, are you a politician? He's sleeping. Anyways. All right, so I asked him, I said, can you request for a full and complete text of the updated docs, or would you like to do it? What? Okay, so he says I got obviously he still has the docs. Oh, I must have mentioned that there was an updated doc. You remove the references to versions. Okay, you didn't actually do this. I want to remove the versions because I feel like when it talks about the versions, the documents can get out of sync. So it's like, hey, you can find the information in the Team Operations Manual 2.0. And then it's like, I can't find 2.0. I can only find 2.2. And it's like, oh no. So he scans all these documents. Anyways, we did all this yesterday. Anyway, so we go through all the documents and it creates new documents. Yeah. Now, after it creates all the new documents, would you like to produce these new documents now? Okay, let's just skip to the end. Why did the operation manual go from 18 pages to 15 pages? That was a question that was kind of like, what the heck? Crucial data from the 5 different sources. While this adds information, there's an overlap between the source documents. Until or if it's different source documents describe similar concepts, I would have aimed to synthesize and consolidate into a single, clear, concise statement. Removal of redundant references. Rephrasing for clarity. This is often the biggest factor. To initially referred to might have been formatted in a particular way in your document editor. The revised version I provided was a raw markdown. Anyway, so we got into this kind of a discussion. Then of the day, I got new documents. Are they better? Are they worse? Think about the last set of documents we were using. It had missing sections, like whole sections were missing, and it says no change, right? Because it was comparing the current version with the last version. And instead of it was only showing the updated data, updated information. I used that version to do the last work in this process. So it's not like if you don't have your calibration document, it's not like the job can't be done. The job can still be done. It's just you're just trying to have finer and finer points so that at some point when you ask Google Gemini to help you, it it works more more easily, it gets better code, it goes with I mean, why we're still on I don't even know which task we're on. Sprint 4. We still got 4 more sprints to go. I'm sitting here talking about politics like I got nothing to do. And the main goal is to get through these sprints more quickly, I think. All right, can we get through sprints more quickly? That's a good question. Anyway, so I created a new liaison. I introduced them to each other. This is the first time we have seen version 2. This is the first liaison with version 2. I did get some messages. All right, I stole this message from the last liaison. because I wanted to have the gold standard code saved inside of the new liaison. All right, after you have updated these files to both Windsurf and Replit, please confirm the code has been saved and identified as gold standard by running the tests. Yeah, how exactly do we do this? Oh, Windsurf charged me for my credit card. I left my credit card open so I could do it. I mean, it should understand because of those closed brackets. All right, let's see if we can do it. And, well, when's the last time we've been to Replit? It's been a long time. Let's just refresh the browser just in case there was an issue here. Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3, Mississippi 4, Mississippi 5. Well, I got another question for you. If Cursor is creating all the code, and we're just copying all the code that Cursor creates, then what's the use of using the other software environments? Where's the big benefit? Hey, let's see, where are we going? Okay, I will help you ensure that these two files are created or updated at the gold standard you provided. To do this correctly and respecting tool constraints, I first needed to check if each file already exists. The file exists, I will read its current content and then use the tool to replace the entire content with the new code. This is the only way to completely replace the content if the file does not exist. And I'll create it. Start by checking. Let's find out. Error while searching file system. Error. It seems that the directory doesn't exist yet. No problem. We'll just we'll create both files with the content you provided. I've write to file tool will create the necessary parent directories. Error while editing. It appears the write to file tool encountered an issue in the previous attempt. Specifically, no such file directory is with these guys. Well, we can just find it, right? So maybe one issue is that we have some different names. SRC, APB, auth. Well, okay, so we're definitely in this SRC thing, and we're in the API. So do we have something called tasks? Okay. App. We click this and then it should be API. We click this and it should have something called tasks. A new file or a new folder. this is the issue that I'm trying to figure out right now. It's like, actually, I don't have such a problem with having to do some of this manual work. I'm not a big fan because I was hoping of a user experience that was more like, I just tell you what to do, you do it because you're a computer and you're AI and you're supposed to be able to do this without too much. Command not found. Error. Try to run it. Suggest execution. All right, I'm just gonna pull this one out. Well, this doesn't make a lot of sense. It didn't actually create them. Let's check if we can see it in the files. Okay, what was it, like 300 and something? Okay. Now we're in business. Now, remember what we're doing right now. We're trying to know, should we rely on Windsurf or Replit? Now, if Windsurf wins, then the battle will be between Windsurf and Cursor. If Replit wins, then the battle will be between Replit and Cursor. But Replit, no matter what, gets a pass to the next stage because it has some specific elements about deployment which do not exist in Windsurf and Cursor. So I don't mind if Windsurf wins. It's fine if Windsurf wins. We still will bring Replit to the next stage of the development process. But if Replit wins, then we got a big problem. Oh, interesting. So it waits till the end. Still doing this. How can you have a checkpoint if this is still running? What this confirms that new crucial fallback in here. You manually created the directory which successfully unblocked Windsurf's right to file. This is excellent. This confirms new guidance on working with Next.js dynamic root segments and terminal commands and Jest specifically. You need to quote the path for the shell. Even with the path quoted, the command failed. This is a critical environment issue with Windsurf's execution environment. Your confirmation of this and this in your local confirms that are indeed in your system and problems with Windsurf's internal environment not having the npm in its path or not correctly sourcing your shell's environment variables. Since your Windsurf's execution environment is unable to directly run commands, you need to execute the test manually through your local terminal Windsurf. Obtain which npm outputs. All right. Let's close this up. Current working directory. Thank you for the detailed update. It's very helpful diagnosing the environment issue. Now, so what we can do is go into here. I'd like you to think about how we could change the overall environment and perhaps search the web for case studies. Then use the brainstorm module from a high level architecture of the project view and make some decisions about how to resolve this issue. This is the conversation I had with liaison. What's this? You are what? Okay, got it. Project manager, you're already in the correct directory. Okay. All right, now do we do this or do we give it to, given the persistent environment issues with windsurf and the just pattern matching problem, please execute the following command. Or the output. Okay, so I can pop in Replit. How do I run the terminal? So this alarm just goes off constantly. All right. I'm gonna work on these problems and I'll get back to you ASAP.